All right, everyone. Sorry about that. So dang sorry about that. Uh, I am so sorry about that, folks. Unfortunately, uh, that's more of the technical difficulties that I sometimes encounter. It looks like the memory on my phone, which is what I'm using to record, was getting full, and it's weird because I don't know. It didn't seem to be for me to be there to be a difference between this time and other times. Let's see. Anyway, um, here we are. Hopefully, I didn't lose a lot of you. Hopefully, you guys all kind of kept painting along, and you're back with me. So I'm gonna give it about 2 minutes for everyone to catch up, for everyone to come back on, get a few more people on here. Looks like we're about maybe 13 people shy of where we were. But anyway, what you guys wanted to be doing was filling this in. Let's see. Filling all of this in this light shade. Say hello, guys. Let me know you guys can hear me. What a bummer. Anyway, we're back. What can we do? Things like that are going to happen from time to time. I had to go clear out a lot of the memory on my phone. Didn't see that one coming. Didn't realize that this uses up memory. I think I had this happen once before. Hi, Jennifer. So anyway, just to kind of let you guys know, I had to go and clear out. I got a message on my phone that my storage was getting full. I didn't realize, and this has happened before one time, where I got the memory message. I didn't realize that Facebook Live would use up memory on the phone. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, we're back, and I apologize. All good though. I'll have this in 2 parts. We'll do this in 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. But anyway, hopefully you guys all. What's up, Lisa? How's it going? But again, I'm just giving it a few more minutes to have other people jump on. So all we're doing is we're adding some of this lighter shade of this brown and yellow that we mixed together, and we're adding it down here. Just recapping what I did the last couple of minutes of our live session. Okay, just kind of recapping. Went through and added all this golden brown, yellow. Hi, SJ Murphy. Good, awesome. Kind of kept coming around and painting up in here. Got about, I don't know how many people we're going to get back. Hopefully everybody's able to make it back. All right. So next step will be, we're going to add a little bit more white now to our mixture. So this mixture that we just used to kind of create the markings around Vincent, we're going to take a little bit more of this white, and we're going to add it in here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to dedicate a phone only for my recordings. I'm going to get a phone and just only recordings on it. This way I don't have memory issues and things like that. It's weird because I don't know how Facebook Live uses up memory on your phone, but okay, no big deal. All right, so I made a lighter version still by adding more white. Took more white. I'm going to come in here, right on the inside of his face, towards the center, towards the big white part. Both sides. Let's roll with it, everybody. Let's continue with our fun little painting session. Okay, and then I can take a little bit of that same paint and maybe right below here underneath his double chin. We're going to come in and add a little bit of this color there. And then one more time, we're going to do it again. We're going to add a little bit of this color down below here. We're going to bring it down to the top of his bow tie. Kind of like that. You don't have to come that low. Actually, no, we don't have to come that low. It's okay. If you did, that's all right. No big deal. But we're going to add a little white pattern here later on. A little like this one here. So that's okay for now. We'll paint right over that, part of that anyway. Okay, what I want you guys to do next. Hi, Bear. All right, so here's what I did. Here's all I did for those of you that might have missed it. I took a little bit more white. So we did all this in yellow, right? And this golden brown, these markings around here. I took more white and added it to that mixture, that golden brown mixture. Made a lighter version of it, and then I added a little bit of that right in here on both sides of his face, here and here. Okay? Then I also added some down here and down in here. So I'm going to give you guys about a minute or two to do that. Actually, a couple minutes. And then we'll come in and do some more on the edges. Down here, the edge, or sorry, back in here on the body, and then down below the bow tie. Okay, watch this part, folks. Using about the same color, same brush, right back here in this part of his back where it starts to slope out a little bit. This is going to take a little bit of this light color and I'm going to draw a little line that goes down. Kind of filling that in. There's little markings on its back, on Vincent's back. Okay. Then from there, right below where the bow tie is, come down like this. And give him like a little bit of a V. It's creating some little markings on Vincent's body. Folks, my apologies for those of you that maybe, well, for anybody that comes back and does the video later, it's going to be in two parts. Okay, part 1 and part 2. All right, so we got this little V shape in here. We got this little line that comes down. Now I'm going to take a little bit more white. Your markings can be a little different on Vincent, right? Doesn't really matter too much as long as you have the variety of color in this. It's what's going to make the painting work. But I'm going to take mostly white right back here where the tail is. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to take a little bit of this lighter color, and I could go lighter still, but this will work for now. And I'm just going to paint this in like this. Using upward brush strokes. There we go, a little bit lighter still, by using more white. There we go. So it looks like I've got a few more of you on here. Let me know if you need me to repeat the parts of the video that I just went over. So actually I'm going to go ahead and repeat it while you guys are doing, while those of you that are painting along are doing your little painting. If you caught all that I've done so far on the second part of the video, what I did, we left off on the other video where we did these golden brown markings around the eyes, came down, went underneath on his chin. I took a little bit more white, mixed it in to create a lighter version of that color, and then I came in and I colored this part here on both sides of his face. Okay, I came down and I colored in down here on his second chin. Okay, and then I did this little V-shaped design. I colored this down in here, and I also colored here on. That's all the same color. This, and this are all this same color that I used up in here. Okay, and then I took a little bit of white, mixed it in some more with this color, so we had a lighter version of that still, and then I colored in the back part of his body. Thank you, Mila. All right, folks. So we're going to work with mainly white here in just a moment. Okay, I've got some white right here. And if you missed any of the other parts that we just did, don't worry about it. Jump forward with me, and then we're going to go through and I'm going to cover those other steps. I'm going to go over them again. So we're going to take some white here, just straight white. Okay, we're going to fill in these areas, the ears, this part right here on the inside of his face. We're going to add in the horns. We're going to add the colors down in here above the bow tie and below. Okay, all in white. So that's what you guys want to do, unless you guys have different ideas to what colors you'd like to use. We're going to take some white here and work it into our Mr. Vincent. Using my 1/2-inch brush, just dipping right into the white. So I come in here, look at my brush strokes. I'm using the edge of the brush like this. Just coming in here and brushing downwards. Now here I can start painting over those pencil marks in the middle. I'm using thick paint. So I'm grabbing quite a bit of this paint. Paint over my little dot. You can also erase it. You don't have to paint over it. You can erase it first and then paint over it. Probably would have been better if I erased it, but that's all right. I can come back and layer that over that and it's going to disappear. Vincent's coming along, Mila. Vincent is coming along. So again, everyone, nice and thick paint. Go underneath the mouth. All right. Once I've done the inside of his face, I'm going to come around and do the same thing on the ears. So in the end, these aren't just going to be stark white ears, and then this part of his face isn't going to be stark white either. We're going to add in a little bit of gray, maybe a little touch of gray to the ears, and then a little bit of a darker gray down the center of his nose, like on the original. Okay, so all the way around, up, over, down. All right. Vincent's coming together. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys a couple of minutes while you guys are working on this. We're gonna have the horns here in a little bit. Okay, while you guys are working on that with the white, I'm gonna go look for the video, the live video that we just had. We just did the first part of this, so I can make some changes to the details on it. So in case anybody comes looking for it, and they know there's a part 1 and part 2. Part 1. All right. Okay. Like I said, just have to go in there and add that there's a part 1 to that. Okay, so again, you guys are filling in all the ears and the center part of his face in white. After you do that, you can take a little bit of that same white, same brush. We're just gonna do a little bit of a design up in here. And everybody's is gonna look a little different. The little markings on your Vincent, on your little goat, gonna be different than mine, right? So this is just kind of an option that you guys can use. I'm here to guide you a little bit. If you decide you want to use different markings, absolutely up to you. There we go. I'm going to come back over here towards the tail. Come back up. And add some of this white, same white that I was just using. And again, notice how I do my brush strokes. I'm just kind of using the brush strokes to create the appearance of fur. Maybe we got Vincent who's a little on the furry side. There we go. Nice and easy. Again, nothing crazy, nothing too, hopefully not too difficult. If you guys watch how I hold my brushes, unless I'm getting in and really doing precise work, I usually hold my brushes towards the back. A little bit more relaxed way of painting. And there we go. All right. Give you guys a little bit to catch up with that, and then we're going to come in and add some shading above his nose, this gray stuff in here. Okay, and actually one step before that, we're going to paint in the horns. Okay, we're going to switch over to a smaller brush for that part. A little bit more control. The smaller the brush, the more control we have. So I got this little guy right here, a little tiny. It's not a liner brush. It's not a little tiny liner brush. It's a little bit of a little square, flat top. Okay. I'm going to use this guy here to paint in the horns, and that's what we're going to do right now. Take a little bit of white. A couple things that I'm going to do first. On the top of each side of his head, I'm just going to mark off where the horns are going to protrude out of Vincent's head. Okay, just like that. Okay. These guys here or these here? Now I'm going to take a little bit of that white, a little tiny bit of brown, mix the two together. So I can make it just a slight off-white. So a tiny bit of brown, a little bit of white. And I'm making a little bit of an off-white color. Now I'm going to come in here and do my little horns. I can do the outline of the horns first. Your horns can be really long, they can be really short. All up to you guys. So there's one horn. Come over to the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. Once you guys have the horns in place, you're going to see that your Vincent, the little goat, is going to be looking like a goat. Much more like a goat than a dog or any other animal. Okay? There we go. It's got a little bit thicker. Then you fill them in. Okay, you go ahead and fill the inside of these guys in. Come over to the other side and do the same thing. Gotta take a little step back to make sure that my Vincent's horns are right where I want them to be. And then I'm gonna drop this layer of white that I'm dropping on right now, that I'm applying at the moment, is going to be transparent just like everything else. I'm not worried about it, right? I'm gonna come back and do another layer in a little bit. There we go, Vincent is shaping up. Once we do the outlining in black also, that's going to make a really big difference, and then Vincent's really going to start to look like Vincent, okay? All right. Since I was just working on the horns, if I come down here, and it's not dry enough yet. I was about to add another layer of white here on these parts of Vincent, but he's not dry enough yet. So I'm actually going to take the same little brush that I'm using. Actually, let's see, maybe one brush size bigger, and I'm going to go ahead and paint in his bow tie. Do the first layer of paint on the bow tie. Painting's all about layering. I know I've said that a few times before. Whoops, let's go back to that. Oh, what happened to my music? Now we're going to switch over to groovy music. Groovy folk music. Let's see what that sounds like. Groovy folk music. Here we go. A little bit of blue. Just going to do a layer of paint all through my bow tie. Go. First layer of paint on my bow tie. I don't know if I consider this groovy music. Facebook. I don't know. Let's go to the next song. Supernatural Disaster by Peter McConnell. Let's see, wherever those are, wherever that is, I don't know. But all right, let's try that. Let's give that a shot. At the same time, when I do my little bow tie, I'm just gonna make my little straps. This could be Vincent's song right now. If I don't look right, I don't feel right. Oh, too funny. All right, little straps on the bow tie. Where was I? Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to give you guys a few minutes there. Fill in your bow tie. Finish up with the white and the horns, and then we're going to start adding this little gray up down the middle of his nose, okay? Which is basically just a little tiny bit of black, just a touch of black, a touch of blue, and a lot of white. So I'm going to get those colors on my palette here. So a touch of black, a touch of white, and a touch of blues. So again, just a little tiny bit of blue, less than that. Some white. And a little touch of black. Making like a blue-gray. There we go. A little bit of blue, a little tiny touch of black. Mainly white. Mix the two together. We got our recipe. Okay, once we've done that, we're going to come in here, right over the top of Vincent's nose. And the nose tapers up. So we can even start up at the middle and work our way down. Up. There we go. There we go, just like that. More shade. Maybe it's a little darker down towards closer to the nose. When we outline it in black, like we are in a little while from now, it's going to make that nose stand out a little bit, okay? If you want, you could also take a little bit of this gray that we just created for the nose. We can lighten it up a little bit more by adding more white to it. So we just want a little tiny bit of that gray, I mean where it's barely noticeable. We mix some white in, we're going to come in here and to the ears, following the same direction as those ears. We come in and paint a thicker layer of white in this gray mix, so it gives our ears a little bit of depth. Both sides. go. You can also take a little bit of this gray and you can add it down in here on this breast, little chest. Here. So again, folks, if any of you are just kind of stopping by, the second video, the video's in two parts. Okay, part one to Vincent and part two. We're on part two right now. All right. We'll give you guys a couple of minutes on that. We're going to add another layer of white to the horns. We're going to add some tufts of hair and some chin hairs. Then we're going to start coming in with our black ink, black paint with a tiny liner brush. And we're going to start outlining the features on our Vincent so they start to pop. So you guys got about 2 minutes before we move on to the next step. Enjoy the Facebook playlist. The groovy Facebook playlist. Okay, Jen, so the gray part, so as far as the gray, so Jen just asked, where did you add gray? I added it up in here in the nose. Okay, so this little area right in here. This gray blue. The gray, if you're not talking about that, if you're talking about the lighter gray that I made, I added it right in here to the ears, okay, to the chest down in here, and then right up in here, a little bit, okay? Also, we can take a little bit of that gray and we can add it right below the chin, like right down in here. Let's see, right in here, just a little bit. Break up some of that white underneath the mouth. There we go, just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to outline. You got it, Jennifer. My pleasure. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to start outlining some of the features. We're not, even though we're outlining, we're not done with adding paint on the inside. This outlining is going to help us make things stand out, and you're going to be able to see where you can make some adjustments. So you're going to grab your little tiny skinny liner brush. You can also do this with a marker. Let's say you were doing a Sharpie or some kind of black thin-tipped marker. That would work too, as long as your paint isn't wet, right, around the edges. So a marker, if you're using a marker as you're working around the edges, if you run into wet paint, that paint is going to cover up the tip of the marker, and then the marker won't work as well. So you want to do this If you're doing it with a marker, you only want to do this around the areas that are not wet. And then you also, or maybe you'd want to wait till your paint is dry before you do this. So first thing that I want to do, I dip my little tiny brush into the paint. I just spin it a few times in the paint so that it makes the point really skinny. Another thing that we can do, my paint is a little bit on the thicker side. If I'm having a hard time getting that paint to stick to the canvas, I'm going to add a little bit of water to the mix. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a moment, if that's the case. But what we're going to start to do, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the nose first. With this whole area on the nose, I'm going to go ahead and fill that in with this black. We're going to come down, make it a little bit whiter, almost like a big, thick, really wide U that we're doing right here. Okay. Then we're going to do a little point that comes down. So on this step, Vincent's going to start to really pop. Okay. So I want you guys to understand, this is where your Vincent's going to start to really stand out because of the outlining. Something as simple as this outlining is going to make a lot of difference. Okay, so you're going to do this first. Fill in that nose part. Okay, once you do the nose, you want to come in and do little pupils in his eyes. Okay. This is where Vincent's real character starts to come out. He's a happy guy, even if he looks a little bit frazzled. He's a happy guy. He's a lover. Look at him. He's got a little flower that he's trying to give somebody. He's a happy guy. Time for us to give him a little bit of character by adding these little darker features, the outlines. And little pupils in his eyes. You also want to outline the eyes, right? You can go around the eyes. Just like that. That's right, Mila. I'm using my pinky stabilizer. That's right. So for those of you that aren't aware of the pinky stabilizer technique, whenever you're painting fine detail stuff or when you're drawing, this is one of the techniques that I use. You can take your pinky, put it right on the canvas. As long as the area is dry where you place your finger, you're good to go. And then you can come in and start doing your little painting. This stabilizes your hand. The pinky stabilizer action. You can also use the palm of your hand. Same thing, same effect, especially if you're doing long, broad strokes. The pinky, when you're painting in a kind of concentrated area like I am with the nose, I just place the pinky right on the canvas, and there we go. Another method, I take my non-drawing hand, I put it on the table in front of me, since I'm painting on an easel with the canvas standing up, and I can place my painting hand on top of my non-painting wrist, and use that to stabilize my hand, okay? So, there we go, Bear. That's right, Vincent. Vincent might look a little frazzled, but he's a handsome dude for sure. Look at him. Even that little bow tie. Come on. Nice white teeth, big chompers right there. Very cool. All right, next little outline. We're going to outline the white part. Come around the mouth, come down. We can stop right about down here. We don't have to outline all the way through. It's a choice that I'm going to make. You could if you want. Okay? And I'm going to outline this. I know I talked about adding the hairs. I'm going to add the hairs over the top of the head and under the chin and whiskers a little bit later. So for now, I'm starting over on this side. Maybe I'll start right up in here. I'm just going to come down and outline his muzzle, his mouth. Come down. I stop right about there. Okay, I'll do the same thing on the other side. Come on down. Okay. Come over. Stop right about there. Okay. Once I've done that, I'm going to come up to the horns. I'm going to give the little horns at the bottom, where the horns come out of his head. I'm going to give those a little bit of shake. Just going to take my brush, come across the bottom of the horn, drop it down a little bit, where they connect to the head, and I'll do the same thing to both sides. Come up, come across, drop back down. There we go. From there, I'll continue on over. If you're going to free float your hand like I am, like this, you want to do bold, confident brush strokes. Once you start moving, go. The slower you move, the more likely your hand's going to shake a little bit. Okay, so once you decide, you go. Again, this is another little method. If you go slowly, though, your hand is more apt to wiggle a little bit or shake. So, broad, confident, just go. All the way down. Actually, this line connects to the white part of the chin. This line right here. Look at him. Starting to pop. Vincent's looking happy. And I just continue with my outline. I'm going to go ahead and do his little double chin here. I'm going to outline that. Or throat, whatever you do, either or. Notice I didn't outline the top of his head. So I'm going to have, I could a little bit. I could come bring it in a little. Then we have whiskers coming out of the top of that. We'll come over on the right hand side. Pinky hand stabilizer. I like it. Then of course, I work around the ears. Now, if you guys are newer to acrylic painting and you're looking at me and you're going, hey, how's he getting the paint on so easily on the canvas? I'm loading up my brush with quite a bit of paint. So with each brush stroke, I can travel a ways. Oops. But even after you do that, if you're having a little bit of a hard time, your paint may be on the thicker side, and you have to add a little bit of water to the mix. You don't want it runny. You don't want your paint runny. You want it to flow. So you add paint to the mix. Water to your mix, to your paint. In this case, your black paint. I would take a little bit of paint, move it over to another section of my plate, like that. Take water, a few drops of water, mix it in really well. But you don't want it to run. If it's runny paint, it doesn't do you any good, or it's going to run on your canvas likely. Okay, so you still want it thick, but not to the, but a little bit thinner. You thin it out with water to help you be able to apply it to the canvas more easily. All right, we do one ear, we do the other. There we go. Once you do the ears, you're going to come down to the body. Outline the body. I'm going to also outline the tail. I'll let you work on that for a little bit. Give you guys all some time to catch up while I drink a little bit of my water. I will also take a little step back and look at my Vincent from a bit of a distance, which is a technique that I often use. I will step back, look at my painting, check in on, it makes it a little easier for me to take the whole painting in as a whole, and I can see if there's any areas that I need to make adjustments on, etc., etc. Don't forget, folks, for those of you that got some time, tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific time, I'm doing this fantabulous early harvest painting, fall little painting. Okay, this one's going to be a lot of fun to do. So, if you guys are interested, 11 a.m. Pacific. Okay, so check your time zone. Come and join us on the fun. In a moment, we're going to take a little bit of brown, mix it in with the black, and we're going to outline these little areas on the inside. A little bit of brown and a little bit of black. Okay, just a little bit. Oh, we also need to outline his chompers. Can't forget his chompers. Kind of look like he has veneers on, huh? A little bit. Vincent has veneers. You guys see an invite from me that pops up for you guys to like the page. While you guys are sitting there painting, I'm over here sending out little invites for people who like the page. All right, everyone. So we're actually going to switch it up just a tiny bit. Okay, enough with outlining for now. Got more outlines to make, obviously, but I want to switch things up just a little bit. I'm going to take one of my little brushes once again, not my little liner brush, but one of my smaller ones. I'm going to take some white paint and add a little touch of brown. When I say little touch of brown, I mean a little touch of brown. And I mix the two colors together. Paint can be a little swirly. Okay. I'm going to use this little tiny brush to give Vincent a little hairdo. He needs a hairdo. Okay? Taking the skinny part of the brush. A little skinny, not the broad side, but the skinny brush, part of the brush, and I'm just going to come up here and brush upwards. Vincent went to the hairdressers today. Got his hair done. Each of these little hairs on the top of his head are precisely put in place. And we can do as many of these little hairs as we want. We can layer them a little bit. Don't do too many this time around. We're going to come back and do some more a little bit when these dry. Okay, so get some little tufts of hair in. Looks like he's got a bit of a mohawk. Okay. And then we're gonna add some whiskers down underneath his chin. I am switching brushes this time. I'm gonna go to my little liner brush. Little skinny, pointy thing. Swirl it around, swirl it around. Bring the brush a little bit because I had some black on it. And I'm going to take some white. Same white and the brown mix that I had. I'm going to go for the top of his hair. And I'm going to come in here and do little tiny whiskers that go in different directions. All right, there we go. Then I'm also going to take this little brush and I'm going to do the same thing up on top. Just a few small skinny ones. There we go. Look at Vincent. He's looking fresh. So work on that for a little bit, and then we're going to continue with our outlining. This time we're going to take a little bit of, actually no, we're going to stick with the black. Got to outline his chompers, and then the little part above his nose. Got to outline all of that. All right, let's continue with the outlining. Same little liner brush, a little bit of black. Outline his little chompers. First, we're going to do a little line down the middle between the lips. And I'm going to make the little outlines for each tooth. Whoops. It's like got a little French music going on right now. Once you've outlined the chompers, I want you to outline the little top part, the little lines around his nose, the gray part of his nose, up to go up his muzzle, center of his muzzle, middle of his muzzle. Then take a same little liner brush for this part, because these lines are really, really thin. I'm going to take and work with just the very, very tip of the brush. There's a little technique that I use. With this part, I am going to mix a little bit of water with my paint. So I'm going to take the paint, move it over, a little bit of it, don't need a lot. Bring it over to the side. I'm going to dip my brush in the water. Okay, so there's water in the brush now. Now take that water and I mix it in with the paint. I want this paint to be really, really smooth. I want it to flow. So I don't have to apply a lot of pressure with the brush to get that to apply to the canvas. And I'm only going to be using the very, very tip of the bristle. So I'm taking the brush, spinning it to make that point really skinny. Then I'm going to come in using my pinky stabilizer. Thank you for that, Mila. I'm going to come in here. Actually, I can use my palm or even my knuckles. I'm just going to concentrate on using just the little tip of my brush. Okay? Again, just the very tip of the bristles. Because I added so much water to the paint without making it runny, I can make these really skinny, skinny lines. Doesn't require much pressure. Nice and easy. Okay. Same thing on the other side. And I don't have to go all the way up, just part of the way up. I'm going to bring the canvas closer to the camera for you guys to see that action. Again, because I added some water to the paint, I just used the very basic or very tip of the bristles, the very tip of the point of the brush. I was able to make some really skinny lines for that. Okay, so there's that. Little technique right there. And let you guys work on that for a moment. I'm going to take a little bit of brown and a little bit of the black paint, mix the two together. Probably a little more brown than I am using black. Not that it matters too much. I am also going to take a little bit of water for this step. Mix the two together a bit simply because my paints are drying out just a bit and I want to add some flow to them. So brown and black. Give you guys a minute on that, and then we're moving on to outlining some of the stuff down here on the chest. Okay, so I got my little bit of brown here, brown and black mixed. This little area down here in the chest, around this white part, just gonna outline that. Doesn't have to be a perfect outline, or even a full and complete outline of the entire shape of this little area. It's gonna go all the way down like that. We're gonna do the same thing to the yellow part, or the lighter side. Again, same thing, don't have to come through and make it super prominent or obvious. Just want to come in and do a nice little, kind of a subtle outline. Then I'm going to do the same thing to all of this white part up in here. There we go. You guys got about 1 minute to catch up on that. Yeah, maybe a minute and a half. We're gonna add some outlines over here too. Over in this area down here, give the body a little bit of shape. We're getting there, folks. We are getting there. All right, everyone. So same little brush, same paint color. We're going to come in here and just outline. So I got this big white area right here, or this lighter area in here. Just going to outline a little bit. Little tiny line there, maybe a little line back here. These are kind of arbitrary, nothing too marked. Not absolutely necessary. Then I'm going to take some of that brown and I'm going to come in here and outline this area in his throat. And then with the same color, maybe lighten it up a little bit actually. I'm going to take mostly brown. Add a little white to it. Lighten it up just a touch. Now outline the horns, so the horns stand out a little bit. Remember, if you're having a hard time making skinny lines, spin your brushes. And then folks, really quickly, I've recently been doing private Zoom sessions. Parties over Zoom sessions, right? Like people are celebrating birthdays, anniversaries. I've done a couple of Girl Scout troops. Done their paint parties on Zoom. For those of you that would like or are interested, reach out to me. I'm also picking back up on the in-person paint parties. COVID friendly. Take precautions with COVID. For those of you that are interested, let me know. Okay. You guys are local, nearby. I do travel all over Southern California if you're in Southern California. And if not, well, I'll do some over Zoom. I'm going to take a little bit of this black paint. I'm going to outline some of the tufts of hair. Make them stand out a little bit. We're getting close to finishing up on Mr. Vincent. Mr. Vincent is super cool. He's a happy guy. He needs his hair looking sharp. So just a few lines around a few of these tufts or these strands of hair to give them some pop. I'll do the same thing down here on some of the whiskers. All I have to do is outline some of the edges. And I do bring them up into the chin a bit. There we go. We'll also do a few of them in mostly black. So again, I did a few of them in black. We're missing the eyelashes over his eyes, Mr. Vincent's eyes. We're going to do those in a little bit. We're going to add a little bit more white, a little bit of a darker section here towards the bottom of his horn. And then we're going to add a little bit more white up in here towards the top of the horn to complete this area up here. So work on those whiskers and on the hair and we'll continue on. You guys got about 2 minutes to catch up. Again, folks, keep in mind, don't, if you miss a step, or not necessarily miss a step, but if you're behind a little bit, stay with me and you can always come back and do the steps that you missed, okay? As long as you're layering, you're good. And then don't forget, please send me pictures of your stuff. We're getting close to the end here. I want to see pictures of your paintings. Okay, and then for those of you that are interested in tipping your art tender, details for my virtual tip jar are at the top under the description of the video. I do have a virtual tip jar, right? And this is, might as well show you guys the info now. Okay, Venmo, Jesse Mendeville at Painting with Jesse, PayPal, paypal.me/Painting with Jesse. All one word, especially important there. And then Zelle, 951-217-2237. Again, details are in the description of the video. One more minute. We also need Vincent's little flower. Okay, so that's coming up. All right. All right. So let's work on those horns. We're going to outline the lips. Actually, we're going to leave the outlining of the lips in red until after the flower. Okay, so let's work on those horns. Small brush, one of our smaller brushes. I'm using my little 1/4-inch brush. Just going to take a little bit of straight white. I'm going to add it to the tips of his horns. Like that. Do the same thing to both horns. A little bit lighter towards the tips. Okay, just like that. Maybe add a little bit of white paint right over his chompers. We haven't painted that in yet. Probably could use a smaller brush for the details, but that is good for now. I'm also going to take a little bit of white and just come in here, in the front part of his chest here where we got a little bit of gray going, and just kind of brush another little thick layer of paint. But I do little short brush strokes. Little short brush strokes make it so that the paint is a little bit uneven and they look more like little tufts of fur. Okay, maybe we'll do that to the back here by the tail a little bit also, just a little bit. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little tiny bit of brown to my white, a little touch. So maybe like a little bit of this brown here, I just grab it. Bring it over right up here. Mix it in with the white a little bit, so it gets a little bit of a darker color. And then I come in here. Oops, maybe a little darker. Come in here and add it to the base of the horn. A little bit. Blend that in a little bit. All right, Vincent. Vincent needs some eyelashes. For those who want Vincent to have eyelashes, he doesn't have to. Take a little bit of white. Come over the top. Each one of my eyes has 3 of them. There's 1, 2, 3. Actually, yeah, there we go, 3. I usually start close to the eye and move away from the eye. As I get to the end of the eyelash, I'll pull away and that makes it a little bit pointier. Just like that. Vincent's got some crazy looking eyelashes, nice and long. Maybe he needs to trim them, but he kind of likes them this way. Gonna need a little green for making the flower. So I'm gonna pour myself out a little bit of green. You're gonna need a little bit of red. For making a red flower, or whatever color flower you're going to be using for this part of it. So we're gonna pour those out. A little red, a little bit of green. All right, you guys got about a minute before we move on. Don't forget, folks, the video is going to be up and available for you guys to come back and look at it afterwards. Don't stress. Don't stress. If you're not missing if you're missing any of these steps, just move on, move with me, and then come back. And we still got to fill in the little white parts. We're going to add a little bit more white up in here towards the top of his hair or head. We're going to outline the mouth in red. We're also going to be doing the flower. We're going to start with the flower here in just a moment. You guys are finishing up there. Just going to go to my page really quick. Different tab. All right, everyone. That's right, Bear. Because every girl's crazy about a sharp-dressed man. And that's Vincent right here. Check him out. Check him out. All right. So let's start on that flower. Little liner brush to do the outside shape of the flower. I think I'm going to change things up a little bit on this flower. I'm not going to make it so sharp. I'm actually going to make the petals a little bit more rounded. First thing I'm going to do, though, is find a little spot where I'm going to do the center of the flower. Right here's a good spot. So there's my flower's little center. And that can be changed to purple or whatever color you want. For now, I'm starting with a little bit of red. Then, let's see how many petals I get. 1. Okay. 2. 3. 4. These are, if you guys want it, if you guys have a different way of making flowers, feel free to use it. Whatever you'd like to do with your flowers, up to you. Everyone's flowers can be a little different. Once I do that, I can just come in and fill the inside in. Because I'm working with red, and this red is a little on the transparent side, I'm not too worried about this first layer. I just want to fill each of these petals in and move on to the next one. I don't sit there worrying about how even or solid these colors are in this first step. Just want shape and coverage. My layer is on and I'm ready to move on, okay? Nothing to it. Some people, like I mentioned earlier, would like to sit there and stay in one spot trying to get their flower all even and uniform, etc. But it's hard to do, especially with the lighter colors. So from here I'm moving on to the stem. I can always come back later and add more details to this. Another layer of red, change the center, little center to a different color, etc., etc. Same little brush, I'm just going to clean it up a little. Just cleaning it up a bit. Taking some green. I'm going to come over right from the edge, right between where his chompers meet, this little line. Draw a little green line that comes down. And connects to my flower. Okay, just like that. Come over to the other side and it comes out on the other side of his mouth. Okay, and then over here it could be a little thicker at the base. Starts to taper in a little as it gets closer to the edge, to the point where the flower is, right? And then maybe it's got a couple little petals, up to you. Let's see, a little petal right there, and then there's a little petal right there. Same thing with the green. If it's a little on the transparent side, leave it alone for a little bit as it dries. I am going to take a moment to change the color of the button in the center. Use a little bit of black that I'm going to mix with the red just to make kind of almost a burgundy. I'll also do this by adding a little bit of blue to it. And then right here, right down in the middle. And that's all I'm going to be doing to the flower for now. We're going to move on and do some touch-ups in white. And let's see, help me folks, am I forgetting anything? Besides the little outline of their lips in red, we're actually going to do that now. We're going to outline those lips in red or whatever color you got. Using the same little liner brush or similar. Just take a little bit of red. You can also use pink for this. Just the inside of Vincent's mouth. And little pink lips. Doesn't have lipstick. Your Vincent could, if you wanted to, right? You're painting your choices. Same as with life. Your life, your choices. No judgments. No judgments. Once you've done the little outline on his mouth, go back to the white. Use a little one of your smaller brushes. This is just for a little detail work. Up in here above by the horn. We'll fill this in a bit. There we go. Come around. You want to look around to see where else you might need some more white. Static. You're hearing static? Static. Is it still going on? Not hearing anything on my end. Let me see here. Let me know if you still hear it, Mila. I don't hear anything on my end, but who knows? Static. Okay. Weird. Okay, let me static. Something with the feed? I don't know. Is it really loud or is it just kind of a low? I have my phone set for Dang it. Did it just start up? So I don't hear anything on my end. I've got my air conditioner going, but that's been going for quite a while. So I don't know what's happening, folks. Hopefully it goes away. I don't want to start messing with the settings on my phone because that might kill the feed. Let's go ahead and continue through here. Hopefully it goes away. Good. It's low, so that's nice. At least we got that going. But let me go ahead and continue here. Let's finish up. Again, I don't want to try and mess with any of the settings on the phone. The phone is in do not disturb mode, so you shouldn't be getting anything from the outside, but who knows what's going on. Technical difficulties. Okay, so let's move on here. So one thing we can do, you could add a little bit of a outline above, like almost like a little eyelid. I did that in gray on my original Vincent. And we can make gray. If you don't have gray, just mix a little bit of white and a little bit of black. I'm just gonna add a quick little eyelid above his eye. Okay. Give him a little more character here. One. Comes right over. I know we got these little eyelashes in place. Just paint right over them, and you can also then complete them, finish them back up if you want to connect to the inside of the eyelid, or they can sit just fine right above. Oh, maybe it's the air conditioner. Let me turn it off and see if that changes anything. Just curious. Because I've had it on all along, so I don't know why it would all of a sudden start picking it up, but let's see. It's about to turn off here, so we'll see what happens. Now I'm curious. There, it's off, so let me know if that fixed anything. Okay, so a little bit of that gray for the eyelid. We can do a little bit of that gray also down under the chin, just a little bit right above where his tuft of hair is. Is it still there, Diana? Okay. Weird. All right. So so it's still there? Say yes, Jesse, it's still there. So I know you guys are saying nope, yes, nope. So if you guys can just say yes, Jesse, it's still there, or no, Jesse, it's gone. I'm hoping it's on my air conditioner. That's gonna be a bummer, but okay. So it's still there. All right, so it's not my air conditioner. That's good. That's a good thing. That's on my air conditioner, because it would be a bummer if I couldn't turn it on. Okay, Lisa, sounds good. Thank you for being here. All right, folks. So just a couple of things that are left to do. And they're pretty minor. You can always do this later on your own. You can come and add a few more white hairs, or not so much add more white hairs. You can just define some of them so they stand out and they pop away from the canvas a bit. So we can kind of do this. So by adding some white on some of these, they'll stand out. Just a few of them, right? You don't have to do all of them. Select a few of them to do this too, and you can do the same thing to the ones on the chin. Select a few of them. Do that a little bit. Then you can also come in, and I'm going to go and do it now. I'm going to outline my flower a little bit, some of the petals in the same kind of purple that I created for the center. Again, I keep these outlines really thin by spinning the brush and making that point really, really skinny. And I'm only going to be using the tip of the brush, of the bristles. You may not be able to see this too well in the video, in the camera, but I will bring the canvas forward a little bit in just a minute. Okay. Something like that. I'm going to turn my air back on here in just a little bit. It started getting warm in here pretty quick. I've got all my studio lights on, so that doesn't help. But air is back on. Thank you guys for letting me know about the static. I'll have to figure out what that is. It might just be something to do with the reception or something, or the internet. Who knows? Kind of weird though. But all right, I'm going to do the same thing with the green. I'm just going to take a little bit of green, mix in a little tiny touch of black, just to make a slightly darker green shade. And I'm going to come over here and outline some of my stem. A little bit. Nothing fancy. Do the same thing to my leaves. All right. There we go. He's a handsome guy, isn't he, Kathy? He's a handsome dude. Check him out. He's a good-looking guy, Vincent is. With his little flower and everything. So, very last thing that you guys will want to do when you're done with your masterpiece. Actually, the very last thing you're going to do when you're done with your masterpiece is send me a picture. And you guys could be, especially if you're in a group, maybe include a picture of your group. That would be fantastic, holding up your paintings. If not, send me a picture of your painting, but I would love to see your masterpieces. Last thing I like to do is sign my pieces. So I like to use my last name, although on my little kitty ones, my little kid tutorials, I always use my first name. But on these guys, I like to use my last name. You guys can use your initials, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, Vincent's going on a date. That's exactly what's happening, Mila. Vincent is going on a date. He's a happy guy. Check him out. Now, for those of you, and I'm not going to do it now. We've already been painting for about 3 hours, and I know some of you guys are probably, getting a little fatigued. But just like I did with Bessie, I added some glitter paint on some areas. So give me a sec, folks, so I can show you my glitter paint up close. So I use these different glitter paints. It's basically glitter floating around in glue, but you brush it on. This stuff will really make your paintings pop. If you guys have never used it, it's pretty awesome. You can take a little bit of, like the blue, for example, and put it on his bow tie. You can take some of this crystal color and maybe add it to his horns or his ears, or maybe on his face or his nose. It's up to you guys. There's some red that I can put on the flower if I wanted. And then there's even some gold. And the gold would work really nicely on some of the areas of his coat, or his eyes, or his face. Anyhow, this glitter stuff is pretty awesome. I highly recommend it. If you don't have it, you can always add it later. If you have some glitter with you, you guys already that are familiar with the step, those of you that have painted with me in the past know that I often will use glitter on pieces. You guys have this glitter at home, go ahead and apply it wherever you'd like, right? But my recommendations would be maybe red like on the flower, if that's the color of flower you use, blue on the bow tie, some of this gold could go on his eye, or some of the lighter colors in his coat and his face. And then the crystal can go pretty much anywhere. The crystal one's pretty versatile, white parts of its face, Vincent's face, etc. Anyway, for those of you that might be interested, I picked these up. These here at Michael's, Deco Art, Craft Twinkles, and then this one here is from Hobby Lobby. These are about maybe $2. They last a long time. $2 or so. This one here is $5, but I usually get these with the coupon. Anyway, I happen to like Craft Twinkles better. They're cheaper. They're cooler to use, and there's also blue. I just don't happen to have blue with me right now in that brand. Anyway, we are all set, folks. The only other thing that I didn't do that you could do whoops, besides drop your painting, which you don't want to do, you can do the bottom end. Whoops, there goes my palette. No big deal. You can do the bottom of your canvas, this area right in here, in the same color as your background. Don't need to do that in front of you guys. No big deal. We can do that later. But anyway, folks, I want to thank all of you for being here with me today. You guys were awesome. Sorry about the glitchiness that happened earlier. Kind of screwed things up. Threw things off a little bit. Unfortunate things sometimes happen. And then one last thing, don't forget, tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific, we're painting this awesome fall piece for those of you that are interested. Once again, 11 a.m. Pacific. Okay, so just no template. Be here with your paints, your brushes, a pencil if you'd like. I don't think we're going to be doing too much drawing, but we might. All right. Thank all of you once again. Come on back. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of other really cool animal paintings and a lot of other types of paintings too. Okay, so not just about animal paintings, as you guys that have followed the page for a while know. We do a lot of landscapes, a lot of other really cool stuff. Water scenes, desert scenes, you name it. All right, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys being here with me today. Have an awesome rest of the weekend, and I will see you guys all very soon. Bye now.